All right. So, you sent over some excerpts from Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right.
And we thought it'd be fun to kind of do a deep dive into some of the timeless techniques that he shares, at how we can connect better with others.
Yeah.
So I was really struck by this concept of, everyone, like, deep down wants to feel important. And he even uses the story of Tough Guy Crozier, this hardened criminal who wrote a letter from prison, basically saying, like, hey, someone acknowledge my good qualities.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like, you would think that, someone like that wouldn't even care. But it just goes to show, like, how fundamental that need is to all of us, right? Yeah. It really transcends all those barriers.
So how do we actually do that? I mean, like, beyond just giving compliments, how do we actually make people feel valued?
Well, I think one way is to, practice what Carnegie calls creative appreciation.
It's not just, praising outcomes. It's more about recognizing, like, the effort, the intention, and those unique qualities that people bring. So, instead of just saying, great job on that presentation, you could say something like, I was really impressed with how clearly you explained those complex concepts.
Right.
It really made the information accessible. Something like that.
Yeah, it's being specific. It's not just like a general comment.
Exactly.
Like, you're really paying attention.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond words too, like a genuine smile, a thoughtful gesture, or even just taking the time to listen attentively.
Right.
Those can speak volumes.
Yeah. Speaking of smiles, he contrasts the plastic smiles of, like, salespeople with, like, the genuine warmth of a baby's grin. It's about authenticity.
It is, A forced smile, you could just tell. It's just off-putting.
Yeah.
But a genuine smile, it disarms you.
Yeah.
It makes you feel open and comfortable. Totally. Like, think about the people you meet, who just instantly make you feel at ease.
Right.
They probably have one of those smiles.
Yeah, probably. He tells that story about the vet who greeted that little girl and her puppy.
Right.
With this, like, giant smile. It wasn't about, making a sale. It was just, like, pure joy, shared joy.
It was just being present.
Yes, exactly.
In that moment. So he also talks about this, kind of simple but powerful way to make people feel important.
Yeah.
And that's remembering their names.
Oh, yeah. It seems so basic, right?
Right.
But think about how you feel when someone remembers your name. It makes you feel seen, acknowledged.
Yeah.
It shows that they were actually paying attention. And Carnegie, he was so serious about this, he would practice it diligently, even in big groups.
It's funny because it reminds me of Andrew Carnegie, no relation to Dale.
I was going to say, I think they're different.
But you know how he would name things like mountain ranges and even a whole city after his financial backers.
It's interesting. I mean, I'm sure his motives weren't entirely pure.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, like, the impact of using someone's name. It makes them feel like, valued, remembered. It's powerful.
And even Benton Love, the chairman of Texas Commerce Bank shares, he said that executives who can't remember names, he said they're operating on quicksand.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, like,
business thing.
Social graces. It's really like a business and leadership imperative. So, I mean, we've talked about appreciation, genuine smiles, remembering names.
Yeah.
But there's another key element to winning friends and influencing people.
It's that.
And that's becoming a skilled listener.
Ah, yes.
And Carnegie, he believed that being a good listener was just as important, maybe even more so, than being a good talker.
Yeah, I think that's often overlooked.
Yeah.
Like, we're all so quick to talk, but how often do we really listen?
Yeah, and he tells that great story about trying to rent that grand ballroom.
Oh, yeah.
And the hotel manager just wasn't interested until he shifted.
He changed his approach.
The focus to what the manager cared about.
Exactly.
He stopped talking about himself.
Yeah. So it's not just about hearing words. It's about understanding the other person's perspective. Really seeing where they're coming from.
It's connecting on that deeper level.
Absolutely.
It's a skill we can all work on.
Yeah. It's a practice.
And Carnegie actually provides some pretty insightful techniques.
Yeah, he does.
On how to become a better listener.
Yeah.
Like, he emphasizes the importance of paying undivided attention. Asking clarifying questions.
Right.
and reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you actually understand.
Yeah, it shows you care.
Yeah, it's showing genuine interest and empathy.
Sometimes it's about just being present and letting the other person feel heard without interrupting or trying to offer solutions.
Yeah, just that space to be heard.
Just that space, exactly.
So, I mean, this makes me wonder, how do we create that safe space?
Yeah.
Not just in our personal relationships, but also in professional settings, you know, especially when there are disagreements or conflicting perspectives.
That's a great question. And you know what? That actually leads us into another important part of Carnegie's work, which is the art of handling disagreements constructively.
Right.
Because, you know, conflict is inevitable in any relationship.
That is true.
So it's about knowing how to navigate those tricky waters.
So how do we do that? How do we handle those disagreements?
Well, Carnegie, he really emphasizes approaching those disagreements with understanding, you know?
Okay.
Not with this desire to win.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a competition.
It's not a competition, exactly. It's more about, like, finding that common ground, you know, even if you have different opinions.
Okay, so how do you do that when someone's, like, really determined to prove you wrong?
Yeah. That can be tough, right? But one thing he suggests is, you know, start by emphasizing those points of agreement, even if they seem small.
Okay.
You know, because it's all about finding that little sliver of shared understanding, you know, and then you can build from there.
So it's like instead of focusing on what divides you, you're looking for that thread that connects you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another thing is he really advises against, like, interrupting the other person or immediately contradicting them, even if you totally disagree.
Okay.
Because it's about, like, giving them that space to be heard.
Right.
Right.
Before you jump in with your perspective.
It's like that that saying, seek first to understand,
yes,
then to be understood.
Exactly. And he also suggests acknowledging the other person's feelings, even if you don't agree with their logic, you know? Yeah. So you could say something like, I understand why you're frustrated. It sounds like this has been really difficult for you.
Okay, so that's a way to show empathy without necessarily
agreeing
with their position. Yeah, exactly. You're just validating their experience, right?
Okay.
Even if you see things differently.
Yeah, okay. So what about when, you know, sometimes the best way to kind of diffuse a tense situation is to just admit when you're wrong.
Oh, absolutely. That can be so powerful.
It seems kind of counterintuitive, though.
It does.
Like, we're always taught to, like, stand our ground and
defend yourself,
defend our position, even when we're not sure if we're right.
It's a natural instinct, but Carnegie, he says, sometimes the best way to win is to lose, you know?
Okay.
And what he means by that is, by acknowledging your mistakes, you show humility and you show this willingness to learn.
Right.
And that can actually make the other person more open to your point of view.
It's about building that trust.
It is, yeah. It's like you're creating a more collaborative atmosphere.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, he also reminds us to appeal to nobler motives, right? So instead of, like, accusing or blaming, you know, you try to frame your arguments in a way that appeals to their sense of fairness and reason.
Right.
You know,
finding that win-win.
Yes, exactly.
Where everyone wins.
And respected.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Carnegie also, he talks about the need to kind of dramatize our ideas.
Oh, yeah.
To make them come alive.
Right.
Is he talking about, like, using theatric? Well, not necessarily, but he does believe in storytelling and vivid language and even, you know, engaging visuals, because it's all about making your ideas more memorable,
right,
more impactful. Like, he tells that story about this salesman who, instead of just listing features of a truck tire, he demonstrated its strength by smashing a walnut with it.
Oh, wow.
You know? So it's about creating that experience that really connects with people.
Yeah, it's not just about
an emotion,
the information, it's about the feeling.
Exactly. And I think that applies to any kind of communication, whether you're giving a presentation or writing an email or just having a conversation.
So this makes me think about public speaking, you know, which a lot of people find really daunting.
Right.
So does Carnegie have any advice for that?
He does. And it's actually pretty simple, but it's really powerful.
Okay.
He says the most important thing is to be enthusiastic and genuine.
Okay. You know? Speak from the heart. Don't try to be someone you're not.
So ditch the formality and just be yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Audiences, they can tell when you're not being authentic.
Right.
They connect with speakers who are passionate
and
real.
Yeah.
But he also stresses the importance of preparation.
Okay.
Knowing your material inside and out.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you're well prepared,
yeah,
then you're less likely to be anxious.
Right. And you're more likely to actually get your message across.
Right.
And to make your presentations more engaging.
Yeah.
He encourages using stories.
Okay.
And anecdotes. Because that's a really powerful way to illustrate your points.
Right.
To make the information relatable.
Yeah.
And to keep the audience captivated.
It's not just a dry lecture.
Right.
It's about bringing
it to life.
The content to life.
Yeah, making it human.
So, I guess even the most experienced speakers, they make mistakes sometimes.
Of course.
So what does Carnegie say about that?
Well, he says, if you stumble or forget a line, don't panic.
Okay.
Just acknowledge it.
Okay.
Maybe even with a little humor and move on.
Okay.
Because honestly, that can make you more relatable to the audience.
It makes you human.
It does. It does. And that kind of leads us into one of the most, I think, powerful things that he talks about, which is becoming a leader.
Right.
And he argues that true leadership, it's not about bossing people around.
Right.
It's about inspiring them
and
motivating them to achieve their best.
It's about empowering them.
Exactly.
Not controlling them.
Not controlling them, yeah. And he outlines several key qualities of effective leaders. Things like honesty, fairness, enthusiasm, and a genuine concern for their team's well-being.
Those are qualities we all admire, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about creating a positive and supportive environment.
Where people feel valued.
Yes.
Yeah.
And motivated. And he also really stresses leading by example, right?
Okay.
So it's not just about talking the talk, it's about
walking the walk.
Walking the walk, exactly.
Yeah.
Because leaders who embody those values, they inspire others to do the same.
Like you're showing them what's possible.
Yeah, and you're encouraging them to reach their full potential, but not by force, but by inspiration.
Okay, yeah, that's powerful. So, what's really remarkable is that Carnegie's work, it applies to so many different interactions.
It really does. It's not just about winning friends.
Right.
It's about understanding how to build strong relationships in all areas of our lives.
Like he gives us this roadmap,
for
connecting with people, even when there are challenges.
Even when it's tough.
Yeah.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's about recognizing that humanity in everyone and approaching each other with
kindness.
With kindness, with understanding, with generosity.
Yeah, and remembering that everyone, no matter who they are,
they
just want to feel...
They want to feel important. They want to feel valued.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing how it kind of brings all these pieces together.
Right.
These seemingly simple, but really profound insights about human nature, and just reminds us that even those small gestures can have such a huge impact on our relationships and our ability to influence others.
It's all about human connection,
Right.
It's the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
Whether you're building friendships or leading teams or negotiating deals, understanding these principles, it just makes such a difference.
Totally. And, he doesn't shy away from the tougher stuff either.
Right.
Like he talks about handling disagreements, navigating conflict.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stuck with me was this principle of admitting wrongs quickly and emphatically.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it can be really hard, especially when you're in the heat of the moment.
Right.
But he says that acknowledging your mistakes can actually be more disarming.
You can,
than defending yourself.
Than trying to protect yourself.
Yeah, it's about taking responsibility, showing humility.
Right.
Even when it's tough.
Even when it's really hard.
Yeah.
Think about it though, when someone just refuses to admit they're wrong, it just escalates the conflict.
Yeah.
It creates resentment.
Right.
But when you're willing to say, hey, you know what, I messed up.
Yeah.
It diffuses the tension. It opens the door to a more constructive conversation.
It's almost like you're taking the wind out of their sails,
Exactly.
They can't really attack you.
Right.
If you've already
owned it.
Owned it.
Yeah.
So, by taking ownership of our mistakes, we actually demonstrate integrity.
You do.
And we build trust.
Absolutely.
It shows that we're more interested in finding a solution than just being right.
Exactly.
And sometimes the best way to win is to lose.
Yeah, to let go of that ego,
Yeah.
It just creates a more collaborative environment, more respectful.
Yeah, totally. So he also talks about the importance of being a good loser, which sounds a little strange.
It does, doesn't it?
But
it's important.
Yeah, he basically says that dwelling on past failures only holds us back.
It does. It keeps us stuck in the past.
So it's about learning from it and moving forward.
Exactly.
Not letting it define us.
And maintaining your dignity,
right.
Like a good loser. They keep their respect.
Mm-hmm.
They show resilience, like ability to bounce back.
Right.
And that's so essential for any kind of success.
Yeah, it's like building that mental toughness, right?
Yeah, that mental toughness. And, he reminds us that setbacks, they're going to happen.
Right.
It's inevitable, but it's how we respond that really matters.
Okay, so this makes me think about keeping our minds open,
Yes.
to new ideas, different perspectives.
Right, because it's so easy to get stuck in our ways.
Right, yeah.
And just resist change.
Yeah.
But Carnegie, he warns against that,
Yeah, right.
He says you got to actively seek out those different viewpoints.
Right.
Challenge your own assumptions.
Be willing to admit when you're wrong.
Be willing to admit when you're wrong. Exactly. It's about that intellectual humility, that curiosity.
Yeah, recognizing that we don't know everything.
We don't know everything, yeah. And that's where the real wisdom lies.
So, I think, at the heart of it, Carnegie's message is all about the power of human connection.
It is,
And by applying these principles, the appreciation, the listening, the handling disagreements, the humility, we can really create more fulfilling relationships and make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely.
It's been awesome exploring all these insights with you.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, from the power of a smile to handling those disagreements with grace. His wisdom really is timeless.
It is, yeah.
Well, hey, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Sharing this deep dive with you.
Likewise.
And, the real learning begins when we put it into practice.
When we take action.
So let's all make a conscious effort, to be a little kinder, a little more understanding, a little more open to other people's perspectives.
Absolutely.
Who knows what amazing connections and opportunities are out there. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Into the wisdom of Dale Carnegie.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you next time.
See you later.